Hello everyone and welcome to St. Andrew's Institute of Technology and Management, Gurgaon, Delhi NCR. St. Andrew's Institute of Technology and Management is the best college in the northern India and the fastest developing college of the country. It has a variety of courses to choose from: BTech, BBA, BCA, and soon coming up with MBA, Architecture, and Law. It has the best infrastructure. It provides best facility to the students. It provides 100% placement and job assistance. This is the best career choice that you can make for yourself or for your children. Welcome to the Department of Computer Science and Engineering and BCA. The subject we shall be taking in this video is Principles of Software Engineering. Code is CSE 302F. This is a CSE 6th semester subject and the syllabus is in accordance with MDU University Rohtak. The topic we shall be taking up in this video is unit testing, integration testing techniques, validation testing, and alpha beta testing. Unit testing. Now what is unit testing? See, without me explaining anything, first I want to ask you that what actually you understand from the word unit, right? You calculate any kind of a calculation or measurement, you say per unit or per unit. So unit is the smallest possible part that can be tested, right? So in a similar way, the smallest part that can put to test is a unit, and this kind of testing is known as a unit testing. So this is what is written in this entire page. Unit testing is a type of software testing where individual units or component of a software are tested. A unit is the smallest testable part of any software, right? So it usually has one or a very few inputs and usually a single output. The purpose is to validate that each unit of the software code performs as expected. Unit testing is done during the development. Development means the coding phase of an application by the developer. Unit test isolates a section of code and verify its correctness. It may be an individual function. Now I say that what exactly a unit. So what can be a unit? An individual function, method, procedure, module, or object. So in software lifecycle model, unit testing is the first level of testing that is done before an integration testing, right? So a unit testing is a white box testing technique. Why white box? Because it is at the smallest grassroots level, we can say the smallest level. That is why it is white box testing, because it is testing the actual implementation of the code, right? That is usually performed by developer. Though in practical world, due to time crunch or reluctance of developers to test, QA or quality associates are the engineers that do unit testing. So how we do unit testing, we do integration testing, then system, and then acceptance, right? So this is a diagram. I think it's clear to you. Okay, what is the importance of unit testing? Why we do it, why it is good, right? So unit testing, it helps to fix bug early in the development cycle and saves cost, right? So as the developer is developing, so you're finding the bugs and you're correcting it, so it will save your time and it will save your development time and cost both. It helps the developer to understand the code base and enable them to make changes quickly. So nothing goes waste, not even the effort, no the money. Okay. Now good unit tests serve as project documentation. Unit tests help with code reuse. That is, migrate both your code and your test to your new project. So unit testing is of two types, manual and automated. This we discussed into our last in our last video, we were discussing the testing now. So we discussed what is manual testing, what is unit testing, right? And herein automation is preferred. Why? Because the code is very lengthy and you have to run, so they try to automate it. Okay, now what is the code coverage? So how do you cover unit testing? How do you cover the code into unit testing? You can go statement by statement, so that's a statement coverage. You can go decision wise, like any point wherein you are deciding something, so that decision or that particular block of code can be said to be a decision coverage. Similarly, a branch and a condition coverage. Then there's finite state machine coverage. This is like the machine has this much state, and this will be the block that would be covered. So there are few tools for unit testing: JUnit, NUnit, JMockit, EMMA, and PHP unit, right? So these are the tools that do unit testing. And the various tasks you're divided. So you first have a unit test plan, then you have unit test cases, and then you do the unit test. So what's in a plan? You prepare, you review, you rework, and there's a baseline of it. Okay. Then there are cases. So what is the unit test cases? You prepare, you review, you rework, and again you do the baseline work, and then you actually perform the test, right? Now we come to integration testing. And integration testing is nothing like, I can understand from the word integration means that merging of the two systems. So what are the errors that comes into the integration phase, or when we are combining it. So it's a similar as the literal meaning of the word, so is the similar meaning of the sentence. So what it says, that integration testing is a level of software testing where individual units are combined and tested as a group. So you combine a set of code, you combine a line of code, and then you test it as a group. Okay, and the purpose of this level of testing is to expose faults in the interaction between them. So whatever will be the fault into their integration, so all these will be exposed in this. Then there are test driver and test stops that assist into this kind of a testing. So it's basically four approaches we have, or four techniques you can say. These are big bang, bottom up, top down, and mixed integration, right? So let's see one by one what is a big bang. See, this is the simplest integration testing approach, and where all the modules are combining and verifying the functionality after the completion of the individual module testing. So you all modules are combined, and then you verify their functionality, like after you do your unit testing. Individual module testing means unit testing. So in simple words, all the modules of a system are simply put together and tested. Like you tested one by one, then you put all the modules and you again test it one by one. So this is practical only with small system, because in large system you cannot do it. If the code is too much and you have a very big software, you cannot go on and do this. That is why it is big bang, right? So what are the advantages? It's convenient for small systems. The disadvantages, there will be quite a lot of delay, because you would have to wait for all the modules to be integrated. Then there's a higher risk of critical modules, and these are not isolated and tested on priority, since all modules are tested at once, right? Next we have bottom up. See, the name suggests bottom to up. So in this, the lower levels are tested and then they are integrated with the higher modules, right? So what is the primary purpose? The primary purpose is each subsystem is to test the interfaces among various modules that is making up the subsystem. So each system will test the interfaces among various modules, and this integration testing uses test drivers to drive and pass appropriate data to the lower level modules. What are the advantages? So in bottom up testing, no steps are required. A principal advantage of this integration testing is that several disjoint subsystems can be tested simultaneously, which is very good. So you are saving on basically time, right? What are the disadvantages? That the driver modules must be produced first before testing, and in this testing, the complexity that occurs when the system is made up of a large number of small systems. So when you have small subsystems, so at that point of time, it is basically causes you a problem, because you took it as a lower level, and if it is a combination and it has the lower levels as also higher levels, so it becomes mix up. So bottom up will not be kind of we can say effective into doing such kind of looking at the complexity of the system, right? Next we have top down integration testing. So top down integration testing used in order to simulate the behavior of the lower level modules, like how the lower level modules are behaving. So you do it that way, right, from higher to lower. And in this testing phase, placed from the top to bottom, first high level modules are tested and then low level modules, and finally you integrate the low level modules to a high level. So you're integrating lower level to higher level to ensure that the system is properly intended to do what it is meant to do. And what are the advantages? That you separately debug the module and there are fewer no drivers needed, wherein in bottom up you needed drivers, right? And it is more stable and accurate at the aggregate level. What are the disadvantages? That you need many stubs and modules at lower level are tested inadequately, right? Okay, next we come to mixed integration testing. Okay, see, a mixed integration testing is also called a sandwich integration testing. Sandwich which it is combination, right? So it follows a combination of top down and bottom up testing, both the approaches. So in top down approach, testing can start only after the top level module have been coded and unit tested. In bottom approach, testing can start only after the bottom level modules are ready. So how you do a top level? You start at the after the top level modules, and when you have coded it, then you do a unit tested, right? And in bottom up, you can start from the bottom, and then you, when it is ready, you see how it is performing. So this sandwich or mixed approach overcomes the shortcoming of top down and bottom up and takes the best of all the two. What is the advantages? The mixed approach is useful for very large projects having several sub projects, right? So wherein bottom was a failure, so here it is very useful, and this overcomes the shortcoming of both top down and bottom up. And what are the disadvantages? So for mixed integration testing, it requires very high cost, right? Because one part is top down and while other part is bottom up, right? So this kind of a testing cannot be used for smaller systems with huge interdependence between different modules. So that is a disadvantage, that you can test complex or large system with it, but for smaller one it creates a problem for you, right? Okay, next we have validation testing. So what's a validation testing? The process of evaluating software during the development process or at the end of the development process to determine whether it satisfies specified business requirement. So what you do, you look at during the development process or at the end of the development process, and you see if it is satisfying the business requirement. So that is valid, that it is meeting the requirement, right? So we previously also discussed validation and verification, so it's in continuation with this only, that you basically see that is it required, is it necessary. So this is what you see in here, that is it meeting the software requirement, has it fulfilled all, right? So validation ensures that product actually meets the client need. It can also be defined as to demonstrate that the product fulfill needs, right? And it is its intended use when deployed in appropriate environment. So what it is answering, that is, are we building the right product, right? Because that is when you have some requirements, and then your requirements are meant to produce a desired software. So are you building the desired software or the right software? Have you met the requirements, right? What are the activities? You have unit testing, you have integration testing, you have system testing, and you have user acceptance testing. What is it? Unit, integration, system, and user acceptance. Okay, so this is how can the workflow be said to be how you validate it. So this is best demonstrated by a V model. So this is during, see, you do code. So for program specification you have unit testing, for detailed design you have integration, high level you have system, and for the requirement you have user acceptance testing. So this is how you start validating, from coding to unit to integration to system and then to user acceptance. So that's the workflow for validation testing. So you can learn this, right? Like this mod diagram, it's very self-explanatory, right? So once you see it, you actually know like what kind of testing is looking after what phase and how you are validating through the different phases, right? Okay, next we come to alpha and beta testing. See, alpha testing is a type of software testing performed to identify bugs before releasing the product to real user or to the public. So before releasing it to the public, so you do it, and this is a user acceptance testing. Similarly, a beta testing is also user type of user acceptance testing, but herein this is performed by the real users of the software applications in a real environment, real user in real environment. Alpha was at the developer side, or I would say the tester side or the company side. So this is how you do unit, you do integration, you do system, and you have alpha beta testing, right? So usually difference between the two comes. See how we can differentiate them. See, alpha testing involves both the white box and black box, wherein beta only uses black box testing. You need to know it, right? So alpha, why will, because the user does not know the code, so that's most obvious. Now the beta will be using black box, it cannot use the white box. But if you are the developer of the software or software, you know the both the inside code and the outside code also, right? So that's very very self-explanatory in itself, self-understood and right. So alpha testing is performed by testers who are usually internal employees of the organization, and beta is performed by clients who are not part of the organization. So that's the second kind. You can bifurcate the two. Then you have alpha testing. This is performed at the developer side, wherein that is at the end user side, right? So you got three differences. Okay, now reliability and security are not checked in alpha testing, right? But they will be checked in beta testing, because why? The reliability and security will only be checked when it goes outside the system, right? And alpha is happening within your system and within your organization. So how can it test the reliability and security? You know, the very very simple points and very very self-explanatory. So you should know how to do this, right? So alpha testing ensures the quality of the product before forwarding to beta testing. So first it knows what is the quality and then it forwards to beta, wherein beta concentrates on the quality but collects user input on the product and ensure that product is ready for real time users, right? So this will be like, that is before the beta testing. So it is preparing, alpha is basically preparing to like preparing the system, I will say, towards the beta testing, and beta testing is preparing the system with just before putting it in the real world scenario, right? So like you know these points are so very well fitted and simple that you actually gain very well like clarity into the topic. So then we have alpha testing. So alpha testing requires a testing environment or a lab, and beta testing does not require a testing environment or a lab. Right, so alpha testing may require long execution cycle, wherein beta testing requires a very few weeks of execution. And developers can immediately address the critical issue or fixes in alpha testing. So what you do, you address the critical, developer does this. Wherein the beta testing, most of the issues or feedback are collected from beta and they'll be implemented in the future version of the product, right? So here are the kind of questions. What is unit testing? What is integration testing? Write a short note on validation testing. And so you need to explain the V workflow model also, because once you do the diagram now, it will fetch you more marks. And also you can look at the our previous videos from the wherein we discuss validation and verification. From there you can take this. And last is the difference between alpha and beta testing. So I hope this is clear to you, right? All the best. Thank you.